Come on, faster. Faster. Oh my god. And there's Mach 2 in the F4 Phantom. Holy shit. Yes, it's patch day. Yes, that is the F4 Phantom 2 in War Thunder. And yes, besides the fact that the Phantom is the wrong variant, this is a fully historical Gulf War lineup. Man, I cannot wait to take this out. We have the MiG-21, we have the Chinese copy-paste of it, which I actually do not have currently, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm just going to lay my cards on the table. I don't give a shit about the Chinese tech tree. In my opinion, there is no worse day to try and learn a brand new aircraft than on patch day. Because everybody's learning the new aircraft, everybody's flying like an idiot, the game is a little bit buggy, this patch is quite buggy, has a lot of issues. I'm not really going to go into them. Why the frick is my Vulcan cannon spinning in the hangar? Gaijin, is this the extent of what you're capable of? Please tell me it's not. But instead of taking this out into an RRB game today, when everyone's flying around like a headless chicken, and there's no more difficult way to learn a new aircraft than in an environment where everyone else is also learning that new aircraft. Instead, we're going to do something I did when the T2 was first released. We're going to speed test these things. F4 Phantom, MiG-21, and the T2. So to get right into things, we're here on takeoff with the F4C Phantom 2. We've got minimum fuel, as little armament as we can possibly carry, although I didn't test whether removing the Phantom's gun pod in favour of its AIM-9s changed its performance by any degree. Perhaps the AIM-9s have less drag, I'm not sure, but this is the default armament of this aircraft. I cut this footage once we'd accelerated to 600 km per hour, which the F4 accelerated to much more quickly than the other two aircraft. Here we are just passing Mach, which once again the Phantom was the first aircraft to reach by a significant margin, although there is a reason for that which we'll get into in just a moment. We start buffeting at around 1300 km per hour on the deck. I'm trying to remain below 50 feet, and watch what happens here. I can only assume this is an issue with the flight model, but the aircraft actually accelerated to 1332 km per hour on the deck, and then for no apparent reason, she suddenly decelerates by quite a lot. I did initially think that this might be because we came onto ground effect. We did also drop 10 feet in altitude at the same time, but even once I ascended back up to 40 feet, we could no longer reach above 1300 km per hour, and as you'll soon see, the aircraft did a very similar thing at 20,000 feet altitude as well. These flight models have some big bugs, in fact this entire update does, which is why I didn't make this video using dev server footage, but as you can see the Phantom dropped almost 100 km per hour by this point for seemingly no reason, and ended up reading 1256 kph. So here we are with the MiG-21F-13. Once again, we're using no ordnance, just the onboard 30mm gun, and we're using minimum fuel. Of course, in test flight mode, our fuel does not drain, but we have the weight of our minimum fuel load, which is obviously not quite realistic. In game, I actually suggest taking maximum fuel, because you'll be leaning on that afterburner quite a lot, and with our current maps, landing these jets to rearm is effectively impossible. You'll just be strafed in seconds. There's our landing gear up, beautiful animation, I love the MiG-21's landing gear, but once again, cut the footage at 600 km per hour true airspeed, which the MiG took much longer to accelerate to. Now here we are passing Mach in the MiG-21, and I do have to mention that first of all, the runway in the Russian test flight map is actually above 700 feet altitude, which would affect our performance a tad, and I had to manoeuvre over here to the ocean in order to gauge the MiG-21's maximum speed. So I used air brakes to maintain below Mach until I reached below 50 feet, and then accelerated, and as you can see with the MiG-21, yeah, she rips her wings in a straight line on the deck shortly after passing 1300 km per hour. Now moving over to the Mitsubishi T2K. We've seen this aircraft already, and I did actually make a quote-unquote speed test video for this aircraft specifically when it was released, so I'll skim over it a tad here. Once again, same scenario, no ordnance, minimum fuel, and the T2 was the slowest to accelerate to 600 kph, but only because I did perform a turn to the left in order to reach sea level more quickly, so if I hadn't done that, the MiG-21 would have been the slowest accelerating aircraft from a standstill. Here we are once again redlining just like the MiG at around 1300 km per hour, although flying for longer I never got the T2 to rip the way the MiG-21 did, and she ended up showing a maximum speed of 1305 kph, which means yes, the T2 is still the fastest aircraft in the game at sea level. The F4 did obviously beat the T2 speed, but then had that weird deceleration issue which I'm not sure how to explain, and the MiG-21 is capable of achieving a higher speed theoretically, but obviously cannot actually do this in practice without shearing off those delta wings. And how dare you damage that beautiful, beautiful aircraft. Next, I tested all three aircraft at 20,000 feet altitude. Same scenario as always, and we're using true airspeed rather than indicated airspeed to get a more accurate reading at high altitudes. Here is where I expected some really good things out of the F4 Phantom, and lads, she did not disappoint, achieving 1876 km per hour or Mach 1.64, before once again experiencing, see look at that, for no reason whatsoever after reaching that top speed, she decelerates and flattened out at around 1787 km per hour or Mach 1.57. So once again she dropped about 100 km an hour. That's still an enormous speed though, and I do highly suggest that when playing your F4 Phantoms, you take these aircraft up to altitude where you do have the best performance by a huge margin. Would really like to know what's going on with that deceleration. It's not to do with engines overheating either, I made sure of that, but if it is happening for a reason, please do let me know in the comments. Now, given that the F4 didn't redline on the deck like the other two aircraft, I wanted to dive her down from 20,000 feet and see what sorts of speed she could hit safely. I had a bit of stuttering with this video footage, which I do apologise for, my recording software just does that sometimes, usually when I'm recording multiple times back to back. But anyway, the F4 after a dive did redline at over 1400 km per hour on the deck, making it the fastest of the three by far. Here at 20,000 feet with the MiG-21, this did take me an extremely long time to accelerate to this aircraft's top speed at this altitude, around twice as long as it took the F4 to accelerate to Mach 1.64, and the MiG only hit Mach 1.48. 1691 km per hour true airspeed was the highest speed I reached, and at that speed, at this altitude, the MiG-21F-13 actually once again redlines. That's 1235 km per hour indicated airspeed at this altitude for those of you interested. She won't rip in a straight line at this altitude like she does on the deck, but the fact that it took the aircraft so long to even reach this speed at all means that you effectively cannot use it in battle. I should also mention that I climbed to this altitude, pitting the aircraft into a 35-degree climb straight off the deck, and while the F4 Phantom was the fastest climbing, even accelerating beyond 950 km per hour at around 18,000 feet, the MiG-21 was the slowest by far, and I actually had to reduce her climb down to 25 degrees to avoid stalling her out at that altitude. Now once again, the Mitsubishi T2 we've already seen, but just for comparison, here our new aircraft really take over from this one, with the T2 achieving a maximum of 1,550 km per hour true airspeed, as always with minimum fuel and no ordnance, and that's Mach 1.36 as you can see. This aircraft was able to maintain that 35-degree climb, however, without stalling, making her much faster climbing to this altitude than the MiG-21, although she didn't even nearly match the Phantom. After that, I put the aircraft into a 20-degree climb up to 35,000 feet, that's a hair over 10.5 kilometers, and here the F4's performance was really something to behold. Look at this acceleration. That's not sped up footage at all. The Phantom did struggle to gain the airspeed initially at this altitude, however once again she did climb up here the fastest by a long shot. Once at around Mach 1.65 however, she accelerated to Mach 2 like it was nothing, and did it in less than half the time of the MiG-21. And there you go lads, that is the moment where I hit Mach 2 in War Thunder in the F4C Phantom 2, 2144 km per hour true airspeed at just under 35,000 feet. But don't be fooled into thinking that's all she's got for you. Let's skip ahead a minute and see just how fast I got to. Just look at that speed. Look how quickly that island airbase is left behind. This is quite fast. The odd thing is, however, I can tell you with an absolute certainty that the F4C in War Thunder is not even performing on par with her real-life counterpart, as she's achieving the correct speed, but it took me longer in flight time to accelerate to the speed than you could actually fly for, given your fuel reserves. So that acceleration I showed before should be even faster. Nonetheless, this is seriously quick. I couldn't quite hit Mach 2.2, but our maximum reading was 2,355 km per hour true airspeed. Now we're up at altitude with the MiG, there's Mach 2. The MiG-21 did once again prove the slowest climbing aircraft. Now this is all live server performance, by the way. I got all this footage yesterday at the time of recording this segment, which was patch day, so the MiG-21 is the slowest accelerating and climbing out of the F4C, MiG-21 and the T2K, which seems very odd to me. What's very interesting, however, is that due to the MiG-21's delta wing, she not only proved the most responsive at this altitude, but she was actually the only one out of the three achieving positive lift up here, with me actually having to dip her nose below the horizon in order not to gain too much altitude and throw off my reading. As before, it took me an extremely long time to accelerate the MiG-21 up to top speed, which at 35,000 feet was 2,203 km per hour true airspeed, or Mach 2.05. One thing I did find is that the MiG was very prone to stalling up here, with that delta wing hemorrhaging speed in a turn, and instantly dropping the aircraft down several thousand feet in the subsequent stall, which you need to nose the aircraft down in order to pull out of. So while the MiG-21F-13 was the most responsive aircraft at this altitude, she wasn't a happy girl. And of course, the T2 could not achieve anywhere near those speeds. I managed to accelerate to 1,724 km per hour, Mach 1.61, and even this took an extremely long time. Once again, this isn't realistic, as the aircraft could never have achieved that top speed in real life if it doesn't have the fuel reserves to fly for long enough to accelerate to it. I did, however, manage to hit 1,900 km per hour in a dive, or Mach 1.67 at 20,000 feet, before ripping. Now, the last thing I wanted to do is take the fastest aircraft of the bunch, the F4, and figure out just how high we could get. If you don't know, there used to be a ceiling on War Thunder at 55,000 feet, or just below 17 kilometers. At this point, you'd get that flashing return to battlefield text, and be placed back down at around 13 kilometers. That, however, is completely gone these days. I've no idea when it was removed, might have been this patch. Now, I know this isn't the most efficient way of climbing up to high altitudes, and if I had used a more efficient method, I probably could have achieved another few hundred feet, but I managed to top out at 63,794 feet above sea level, which a quick Google search tells me is 19,444 meters. This in real life would be easily high enough to observe the curvature of the Earth, and is actually significantly higher than the service ceiling of this aircraft. At this point, even with full elevator, I was completely unable to maintain lift and ended up stalling the aircraft out soon after plateauing at that altitude. Yeah, stalling at above the speed of sound. So she's no SR-71 Blackbird, but that is very high. And you see that return to battlefield message? That's from my distance away from the map, not my altitude. So it is very interesting to see that A, the ceiling on the game has been removed, and B, if you hadn't noticed, the sky above me is noticeably darker up here. Now, I know it's a long stretch of the imagination, but picture next year's April Fools giving us F-15E Strike Eagles or MiG-31 Foxhounds flying up to some 80,000 feet to intercept some low-orbiting satellite, James Bond villain-style superweapon. Oh, that'd be fun. Time, of course, to RTB. I know a quick way down, and we were able to hit Mach 2.1 safely at 35,000 feet, so let's see what sorts of speeds we can hit on the way down. Absolutely incredible to think that we're still above 40,000 feet, which is roughly the altitude at which the F4 achieves its absolute top speed, although I chose 35,000 feet for testing as an average best altitude between the three aircraft. 2,210 km per hour ended up being my top speed in the dive, which is Mach 1.97. And there's the wing rip. Now let's see if we can get the pilot out alive. If you lads don't know, bailing out at supersonic speeds is basically suicide. It's worse than staying in the aircraft. So we're going to have to slow down quite fast if we want to get this guy out alive. There's the Mark Cloud. Now let's see if we can bail the guy out. It's gonna be very close. Oh dear, I don't think he made it there, unfortunately. Well lads, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope that I don't get demonetized for the death of that poor F4 pilot right there. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe and hit that bell icon, join the 360 squad, and let me know your thoughts on these aircraft and this video down in the comments section below. The F4C Phantom II and MiG-21F-13 in War Thunder. What a day. It is nice, I guess, that they're somewhat more balanced than they were on the dev server, where the F4 was hugely superior, and it's also very good to see that at low altitude, the T2 remains seriously competitive, with superior missiles to both aircraft. So really, this isn't much power creep. However, that's just one of the many issues I have with these aircraft and their implementation, which I will talk about when I take them out for gameplay videos in the coming days. For now, I do plan on getting my update trailer finished this weekend, and for that I need some of you lads. We're going to be holding some custom battles either today or tomorrow where I can collect the footage, and I need a bunch of T-55s and T-72s, and some people who have the Chinese Shenyang F5 premium jet, as well as some MiG-21 pilots. So if that's you, make sure you hop on the Discord if you're not already, and you can be a part of this trailer. We're gonna rival Pandromodos for once this patch. I hope. Anyway, come follow me on Twitter and Twitch, and check out Patreon or hit the join button here on YouTube if you wish to support the channel further. Thank you lads all so much for watching, have a lovely good day, and always remember, keep your bagpipes to hand, keep your kilt on, and I shall see you next video. I say a wee thank you to these lads for supporting me on Patreon. Captain Fubar, DA261, Gisli Gadarson, and Dark Recon. You lads are bra. If you wish to join them, come check out the link in the description below.